Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julius once again with another One Piece chapter summary. This week's chapter is chapter 1066, The Will of Ohara, which I'm not gonna lie, I was not actually expecting that to be covered here at all, to have Ohara even briefly mentioned. But I mean, I guess because they did research the Void Century, I probably should have seen that coming. However, it's more of what we find out about the Will of Ohara that ties so many other ends together. But let's start off the chapter like we always do with the artwork for this week. It is a continuation of the Germa Double Six's emotionless voyage as the siblings return to the Germa Kingdom with their little friend in tow, so Caesar decided to go with them. This continues on my theory that we're going to get the band back together when it comes to Mads, because if you think about it, you got Vegapunk on Egghead Island, not too far from Wano, where Queen is, or at least Queen is imprisoned, or maybe Queen is dead, whatever. But we know that we're not too far from Whole Cake Island, which is where Judge and Caesar just left. So if Judge and Caesar continue on the ocean the same way the Straw Hats have been, they might end up at Wano, they might pick up Queen, and then after whatever happens on Egghead happens, they pick up Vegapunk, and you get the band back together, and all the mad scientists are in one room again. If nothing else, they could probably pick up Lilith, considering she's Vegapunk's evil side. But enough about that. We now cut to the island of Egghead and the Straw Hat crew talking to Vegapunk himself. Well, Shaka at least. Shaka explains to them that the ancient kingdom that existed on this island is just a theory that he has. So he believes that based on the technology he found here, matches up with Ohara's notes based on what they found out about an ancient kingdom, which then lines up timeline wise with an ancient item that was produced during that similar time period. The exact notes I have here is an archaeologist theorized about an ancient kingdom, which matches up with Vegapunk's notes on a certain item. I'm not really sure what the machine is that Vegapunk is talking about, because he does not get to go into detail on that. I think it's probably one of the ancient weapons, but maybe it's some other type of machine. Maybe it's a machine that increases one's lifespan. Maybe it's a machine that creates devil fruits, because some people do have a theory that devil fruits are inorganic creations. Personally, I'm kind of hoping that devil fruits aren't inorganic. I'm hoping that they really did exist, that there's something that happened even before the ancient kingdom, that devil fruits are just a part of this world and not something that was scientifically created. That's me on devil fruits, though. I'm really hoping they're just a natural part of the One Piece world. But as Vegapunk talks about this ancient kingdom, he mentions that all traces of this kingdom have been erased from history. This kingdom went up against 20 other kingdoms who eventually became the world government, and as he's guessing, in order to prevent the ideals of that kingdom from carrying on, all traces of the kingdom were erased from history. To which the Straw Hat crew, listening to him talking, goes, wait a second. So anyone who knows even a single sliver about this is erased, yes, as he responds to them. You get mixed reactions. You got, Frankie's freaking out over the technology. Sanji and Nami are a little bit worried about the government coming after them. Usopp literally slams his head against the ground, trying to create momentary amnesia for what he just heard. But all Robin heard was Ohara. So Robin goes on to ask him, if you know so much about like these theories of the ancient kingdom and you're, up here when it comes to government knowledge, why don't you just ask them? To which he responds, no, even I'm left in the dark about that, and I assume if I got close to the truth, I probably would get killed as well. But that doesn't stop a man of research, a man who puts knowledge and science above his own safety. And we get a flashback to 22 years ago, a little after Ohara was erased by the Buster Call. We learned from Vegapunk that Clover, the leader of the researchers on Ohara, was actually a pirate who had been caught by the Marines about 10 times in his lifelong journey to learn the truth of the world. But he eventually settled down on Ohara and became the Island of Knowledge. As his friend and someone who knew him, Vegapunk decided to go pay his respects to the death spot of Clover. We never see a corpse or anything, of course, but Vegapunk does create this like Ohara tombstone thing that he puts some flowers down. But he's not the only one on this island. In fact, there's a few people on this island, all of equal importance to one another. The first group Vegapunk encounters on this island are actually giants, and while he himself doesn't interact with them, we learn later that these giants have no ill will for this island, and they actually know the value of what they're grabbing. The giants are scooping out of the lake books. The same books that the scholars of Ohara threw into the lake to protect them all those years ago. We saw during Robin's flashback, we knew the books were still there. Even some Marines took a look and they were all confused about the books thrown in the water. But Ohara won that day. Ohara took a bet by throwing the books into the lake, hoping that someone would come along and preserve that knowledge. If any government official had been there looking over the island after the Buster call, they would have found the books in the lake and had them gotten rid of. But they didn't. In fact, Vegapunk even said he went to Ohara in secret, so it's not like anyone knew that Ohara was being observed. It got blasted by a Buster call and it was gone. The Tree of Knowledge completely destroyed. The basement where the Poneglyph, probably destroyed as well, but Robin has the knowledge of that Poneglyph. Those books are now in a lake being scooped out by giants as a young Vegapunk watches. We also learn that these books are being scooped out on behest of the captain of these giants, or at least the leader, the one giving them the, not so much an order, but more of a request to scoop these books out, and the giants are aware of the value they hold. That's right, Monkey D. Dragon actually came to the island of Ohara to pay respects to Clover because he too once knew the guy, and actually went to talk to the giants to make sure they knew what they were doing. These giants were led by a man heavily covered in bandages, but they are aware of the value and are taking these books back to Elbaf, which is not affiliated with the world government, mind you, so it is the safest place for the books of Ohara to be kept. I would also like to point out that the three giants in this panel also look a lot like Harridan, Gerd, and Goldberg, three members of the new giant pirates. These new giants are off on their adventure. He was about, I'd say he was in his late 50s, Harridan, at this point, so because I just looked him up on the wiki. He's 81 according to my sources. So this is actually a pretty young giant going off and doing this. But it's at this point that we get the reveal of the real Vegapunk, what he looked like in his younger years. And let me tell you, anyone who thought Vegapunk was going to look silly or ridiculous or, like a cross between Jimmy Neutron and the kids from Code Lyoko, you were absolutely right, my friend. His head is massive. The largest head I have seen in many media. My brother, upon seeing him, said that he looked like a guy who was trying to grow his head into the hat of Doug Dimmadome. So with this Doug Dimma head, he converses with Dragon, and Dragon even tells him, it would be a shame if the information that Ohara survived managed to leak out. And Vegapunk's like, well, why would you think I would do that? And he goes, well, because you turned down joining my group and you're a member of the Marines. And he goes, I am a member of the Marines for the world government for money alone because your little group doesn't have the funds for the technology I want to build. Brutally honest. He goes where the money is. And he clearly does have a moralistic side. Otherwise, he would have told the world government that Ohara still existed. Upon this revelation, we get a lot of reactions from the Straw Hat crew. We have Nami commenting on how passionate Luffy's dad is, Usopp is interested in Elbaf, Frankie is questioning why Bartholomew Kuma helped them, and Sanji is sitting there going like, oh, so Ivo was like a leader, like an actual founding member of this group. So there's, questions across the board from all of them. But of course, the most important one is Robin's. The leader of these giants, the one covered in bandages and, telling the other giants what to do with these books. Would his name happen to be Saul? And Vegapunk sits there and he goes, well, I went to Elbaf in secret and I spoke to that leader guy, but he is still in hiding, so I am not at a point where I can say whether or not that's who you think it is. But the way he worded it, the way we saw in the flashback, the tears in Robin's eyes tell us everything we need to know. Saul is alive. And I want to go one step beyond with this theory, and I want to claim that Saul is the man marked in flames. So when the Straw Hat crew goes to Elbaf, because now I know they have to go to Elbaf because Robin's got to read those books, they are going to meet up with Eustace Kid, and whatever troubles are going to come from either Kid being the villain or Kid helping Luffy with whatever giant's problem is going on there, what have you, but Kid's going to be there because I think Saul is the man marked by flames. He got thawed out by Aokiji's ice, so that, when Kuzan froze him over, he got thawed out because of the Buster Call. However, the island was still covered in fire, and Saul survived because the fire in him burned brighter than the fire outside of him. And I know that's a stolen quote, but it's just a good quote. So, yeah, Saul, I think, is the man marked by flames, and I can't wait for Robin to show him that he was right, that she would find friends that would never leave her. So this is going to be nice. Elbaf is going to be a nice Usopp Robin arc, since we're hoping that this arc is going to be like a Frankie arc, where Frankie gets a bit of a power-up, but apparently it's turning into a Robin arc, because Vegapunk knows what happened at Ohara, and is willing to share some information with the Straw Hat crew. In fact, he even takes them with him, literally. The shoes that are currently bolted to the ground because the crew can't actually move, he actually slides them along with him because he wants to go show them something. We don't get to see what that something is, though, because the chapter cuts to Luffy and his group in front of that giant robot again. As Luffy and Chopper are trying to awaken the robot, they're trying to call it by name, they're trying to give it commands, they're trying to get inside of it, but whatever the reasons, nothing they're doing is working until this weird rippling effect starts appearing in front of the robot, and an old man pops out and gets stuck in the ground. Luffy and Chopper look over and they're like, oh my gosh, we should help that old man. Bonnie looks at the old man and says, you! The old man stuck in the ground is Vegapunk, the Prime Body. And as Luffy kind of helps him get out, he's still like floating in the air, and Luffy goes, how are you floating? And he goes, oh, you're wearing my shoes? Go ahead, there's like a button on the side here. So Luffy presses his button, and he presses his, and Chopper presses the button, and the three of them go flying into the air as the chapter cuts out with him being like, oh my gosh, we're flying too high. And he, I should say, before he flew off, he did mention, oh, hey, Luffy, you're Dragon's boy. It's nice to meet you. And, oh, look, Bonnie, you've gotten so big. And then the whole thing with the shoes that threw him into the air. But Vegapunk just looks like Albert Einstein. I mean, for anyone, I said earlier, for anyone whose theory was Vegapunk looks like a dorky scientist, or, he looked, silly or something like that, congratulations. I actually had no theories on what Vegapunk looked like, because it's One Piece and I kind of just accept anything that's happening when it comes to... Vegapunk turned out to be a woman, and I mean, I saw the 02, so I was thinking alongside many that, yeah, okay, this isn't him, but it technically is him, and now he's got this Albert Einstein look with the whole, his tongue sticking out and stuff, and the apple thing on his head. Now, an apple is a symbol of wisdom, like giving an apple to your teacher kind of thing, but his big, massive brain has literally been diced up and sent out into 6 other bodies. So we know, thanks to our beloved York, that the brain of Vegapunk, even if it is diced out and put into 6 other bodies, is still fully functional. He's still at his most intelligent, because all the bodies are connected, however that works. We don't know. This might be a case where, like, Vegapunk can't leave the island anymore, because maybe the 7 bodies are actually, combined into, like, one super airspace that causes the transference of their intelligence, their data, their poop, whatever the reason. But I'm interested to see where this goes, because now we see the real Vegapunk, and he's going to tell pretty much everything. Whether it's through Shaka being the nice guy that he is, Lilith just wanting to spread some chaos, or just old man Vegapunk telling us exposition. I thought this chapter we were going to learn about the Void Century. That might be next chapter, that might be the chapter thereafter, but get ready. Get ready, and tell your friends to get caught up if you're the only one in your friend group who's caught up, because we're going to get some spoilers for One Piece that are going to be some of the heaviest hitting spoilers, especially if we learn the true name of the Ancient Kingdom, which I'm very much looking forward to learning. I hope it has something to do with the letter D, because then, what if we actually learn what the D stands for? Well, anyways, with that, thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.